north of Seattle, but came right back because all of our families up there, so I went up there. So I lived here all my life. They bought some land in Riley, Oregon, which is out in Harney County, and had quite a bit of land in Wagon Tire they acquired. That's they summered the cattle before they just went to Sycan Marsh. And I can remember probably in 1930 they started acquiring some land around Wagon Tire Mountain. And then they bought the ranch in Riley in the early 40s. And the older brother took that over. And got to be so many kids in 54 they split everything up. And so that's how my dad ended up in this part. And I was raised, as you go back out, you can look to your right just where you go up that little hill. And there's some white buildings over there, trailer now. And that's where I grew up. Went to school in Silver Lake, high school in Paisley, and then I went 1 year to Oregon State before I went in the service. And then when I got out, I went and finished up there in 49, graduated in 49. I was drafted, I think it must have been the later part of 42. I'm not sure about the date, I know when I got out, but anyway, I went and was sent to Fort Knox. I've been kind of crippled since I was a kid. I guess I was born with it. And all of our friends around here never thought I'd get in the service. But they were really surprised when I passed with flying colors in Portland. They were taking everybody nowadays that could walk. And so I ended up at Fort Knox in the tank battalion, tank corps. And I was kind of fortunate as far as the Army goes. I was in basic about 3 weeks and got really sick with some kind of a fever. I don't remember what they called it. Anyway, I was in the infirmary about almost 2 weeks or a little more. And so when I went back to my old outfit, they said, no, you can't be here anymore. You're too far behind. So I had to start all over again. But I guess the good part of that goes is that people I started with, when they got through their basic, they were sent all over Europe as replacements for guys getting out and killed and so forth. And when I got through basic, they kept us in the States for a long time training and formed a tank battalion. I was in Sherman tanks. And so we were here for a good year or longer while the war was going on in Germany. I was lucky when everybody had to learn how to drive one a little bit. Well, I ended up the shifting gears were the same as the old Chevy truck we had. So my instructor couldn't believe that I would shift that thing down, and away we'd go. He said, you drove one of these things before? And I said, no, but I've drove an old Chevy truck before that shifts the same way. So that was kind of fun at the time. So I kind of looked out on that. I finally went overseas in 44. I sailed out of New Jersey and landed in Le Havre, France. But about a week before our tanks got there, and then we had to clean them all up and get the grease off of them because they were all wrapped for moisture. So it was, going into 45 before they did put us on a train and start moving us up towards where the action was. But while we were on the tracks moving while the war ended, I was still pretty country boy. I didn't pay attention to much, didn't know much, didn't care much about anything, just except having fun and living. But it was kind of interesting over there. It saw some pretty nice country after we finally got going and got out of the war zone. We were there 9 months, and then we sailed back we were supposed to go to Japan. That was always our orders right after the war. It was over in Germany. But just before we loaded up, get ready to go, they said, no, the war's over. We'll send you home for 30 days. And while I was home on furlough though, for the days, I worked in Japan, so I got out of all of it. Actually, somebody watched out for me, I guess. The bad thing was, I guess, I got home, my mother picked me up in Bend, I think, and that night I got really sick. And we had a friend that he and I went in the service about the same time, and he was a Navy medic. And he asked my mother, let me see what he's throwing up. And he said, you better get him to town. He may have appendicitis. Oh. Sure enough, headed for Lakeview, and sure enough, they had an operating table on after me. I missed the Army one day getting that bed.
That's quite a homecoming.
That was my homecoming. I worked on the family ranch that summer. Then I started school again in 45, fall of 45. Let's see, fall of, 45, 46. I was a sophomore. And, well, that'd be, must start at 6. How do they go? 6 and 7 would have been 1 year, and then 7 and 8 would have been another 8 and 9.
Yeah, okay.
Back in 46.
So what were you studying in school?
Well, my friends told me how to drink beer fast and dodge it, all the hard tests. I was taking animal husbandry, they called it. Mm-hmm. And I joined the fraternity before. My first year I was there, while they were moving all the Army and Navy people into barracks, so those classes they had. And I was in the dorm then. They kicked us out of the dorm, and they took 3 of us to the Theta Chi house and dumped us out on the sidewalk with our stuff and didn't know anybody. Irish lad from Maryland, Bill Felby was his name. He was a Theta Chi. He came out, he's the one that greeted us, big smile on his face, made us welcome. And so then I lived in that fraternity for a term and a half. And then I had a lot of fun, made a lot of friends. So I just about stayed in the service. Mm-hmm. You know, if they told me white was black, that was fine with me. It made a difference to me. I got married. I graduated in June of 49, got married in October of 49.
Oh, okay.
We came back.
So did you meet your wife at Oregon State?
She had met her on a blind date at Oregon State, yeah. Yeah, our fraternity had a big dinner and dance in fall term. And it was one you were supposed to go to. Anyway, I was going to the nurse in Portland, and she couldn't get off that weekend. No way she could get down. So another fellow in the house was the same way I was. His day couldn't get up. So he said, I know somebody at the DG house. I'll call them and see what they got to offer. Anyway, he called and we got a couple names, so we went and got the Beaver Book, of course, looked at the pictures. And so, yeah, we both tried it. So that's where I met my wife.
You picked your wife out of a book?
On that blind date, yeah. Yeah, so we've been married 65 years. We've lived here since 49 in this house. Well, a lot different. This, not this way it is now, but it was per-county camp then. We never got power in some late to 53, something like 53, I think.
In this kind of setting, you know, by the time, you know, you're 8 or 9 years old, you're out with your dad, you're working, you know, on a ranch, and that's probably true all across the country. And so I was always out with Dad, particularly in the summertime, putting up hay or doing whatever. And so you're close to your dad. And my dad wasn't one to communicate a lot, but you always knew you were loved, cared for, it was secure. And that's one of the things I again will always appreciate. The other thing about Dad is from the time I was born, Dad had a back injury, and I've never known him to walk straight, and it's been very difficult at times. And Dad never complained. You never heard about it. Kind of common to his generation, I think. But none of the family was burdened with the back pain that he suffers. When I get a backache, I'm just done for the day. But he was always out here working, and so It's one of the big lessons I think that I'll always keep, is just how he lived his life that way. And a good father, very level-headed, was not the least bit abusive in any way. He wasn't scared to come home. It was scary to come home. It was a safe place, and he was a good dad. Wouldn't have traded him for anything.
I enjoyed most getting the cattle home in the fall and classing them up. You know, putting the good stock together and the bad stock together. Taking care of weaning the calves and getting them all winterized. We used to go to the Lake County rodeo all the time. In fact, my wife and I went there in '49 before we were married. I tried that 1 year bareback riding, but I didn't get very far. I worked on for the road. I was around the president in '71.
At what point did you start to get involved in local politics?
In '66. My dad was commissioner for one term. In fact, he passed away when he was commissioner. And then a fellow in Silver Lake took his place. And he got sick or decided not to run again. And I hadn't even thought about it. But a bunch of my friends in Lakeview got on my case. They did all the work, and I was like, I'll never get elected that thing. Anyway, it turned out I did. In those days, there was a county judge and 2 commissioners. And the county judge was there full-time. The commissioners there just twice a month. And a fellow named Jim Ogle was the county judge. His boy is still alive, and I've maybe met Jim.
I have, yes.
In fact, I was the last county judge they had when Jim Sr. died. The other commissioner I knew that the Board of Commissioners would be better than the county judge. We'd all be there a little more. And so they had to appoint a county judge while we appointed the commissioners. So they appointed me county judge. I think I was county judge for 20 minutes. Then we got formed the Board of Commissioners. The 2 fellows that were my fellow commissioners, I ended up being there about 3 days a week maybe after the 70. One of them ranched in Plush. Fitzgerald was his name. George Jackson was the other one when I first went in. And he had a business, so I would be there 3 days a week, and then Jackson would come in on Thursday, and Don never did come. We finally went to assistant to county commissioners who were there full time, kind of took care of things. So I started in '66. And I enjoyed people, and a lot of it is, shooting the bull and trying to please people, which was easy to do in those days, easier than it is now, I think.
Yeah. So how long were you a commissioner?
20 years. I don't know why they just kept asking me to run. I did. Almost got beat a time or two. The last time I did finally out. The guy that decided to run against me, I knew I couldn't beat him, so I knew it was over with before he even started. That was long enough. It hasn't changed too much as far as what Silver Lake looks like. There used to be a rancher owned where the game commission is. That was a big alkali ranch. He wasn't much of a guy. His cows were poor. But down the highway, clear to Paisley, the ranchers is about the same. They just changed ownership. Now this end of Silver Lake has changed quite a bit because there was never any development on the road coming into this place until I think it was subdivided in 54, 55. And then it was long as probably the 80s before anything we sold and started building. And now there's all kinds of, and they're all good people, most of them, all that we know.
Do people give you grief about the fact that you live on a road named after you?
Oh yeah, well, two guys. Yeah, the BLM did that. Well, I didn't have anything to do with it. I was kind of on the BLM map, and how it got there, I suppose. Of course, I've been in Carlon's living here since 1900, 1890s or something, you know. But it was Anna River Road for a long time. Anna Reservoir Road, that's what it was, Anna Reservoir. And then when the BLM changed their signing around, why they put Carlon Lane up there and stuff. I took a little beating over that. Both of us did, my wife and I.
I think all of us had our accidents around here on the ranch. My oldest brother, Tom, put a tractor through the shop one day. I think he was a young teenager, maybe not even a teenager yet. And brand new shop, put a big hole in it. Dan, I'm sure there are more stories. These are the only ones that I remember, though. Dan, up in Saikan, people watching this video would know where that is, but very remote place up here in the timber, hung a pickup up over a stump. And so I'm recalling things that we all got in trouble for.
You haven't listed anything you did, though.
I did everything perfectly. I did run a tractor into the gas tank when I was in junior high, and nearly killed me. But it caused a big spill and caused a wreck with the tractor, and I got in some trouble for that one because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. But my brothers are a little older than me. Actually, they're quite a bit older than me. So they were gone by the time I was kind of junior high, high school. But I'm sure there were other things we did around here to get in trouble for, and kind of the usual stuff. But those are the things that stick out. Those are the stories that still get told around the dinner table.
How do you want people to remember George Carlon?
Just an old-time rancher, I guess, enjoyed people, had fun in his life. I enjoyed people, enjoyed the things I did, enjoyed my commissioner work. Nothing too bad happened during that, so totally got by okay. Being a commissioner for 20 years and working for the people and helping quite a few people when I was in there, along with the other two commissioners. I couldn't do that alone, of course. You could talk somebody into something once in a while in the other chair. So that was probably the thing I enjoyed most of my life. I like ranching most of the time. Sometimes it got cold, like you say, cold and windy, dirt flying, but I don't think I could have ever done anything else. Treat people the way you'd like to be treated. And don't be running everybody down. You know, if you don't want, I think the main thing is just treat people like you like to be treated. And you get by pretty good that way. That was kind of what I went by, I guess. I treated people like I like to be treated. And pay attention nowadays, of course, you got to pay attention to how you're going to survive in the years to come. Jobs aren't very easy nowadays like they were when I was growing up, but probably the wages are about the same, but jobs are different. No, I think just treat people like you like to be treated, be nice to people. Don't take a lot of guff, you know, stand your own, don't be afraid to voice it, but don't be arguing and raising Cain about it. If you don't get your way, well, you don't get your way. I think that's what made me a little successful. It could roll off my shoulders. It didn't bother me too much. I could just let bad things go on the ground. I would think about them quite a bit, but it didn't set me back. I didn't worry about it all the time. Well, that's the main thing. Tend to your own business. Be a nice guy to everybody, or everybody you can.
Good.
I don't think I had too many enemies at least when I started. I might have when I got out, I don't know. After 20 years, you're bound to make some, I guess. Yeah, don't be afraid to read your Bibles. You should all do it as much as you can. Go to Bible study, it'll help you a lot during life. That should go for every all people.
I really appreciate Dad as a father, Dad as a person. You know, there are people out there that knew my dad differently than me. I know him as a father, and I wouldn't have traded Dad in for anybody else. And I appreciate the life he gave me very much. You know, even to this day, even though I've been away from the area, people still recognize that last name. And you know, a lot of people who have memories of Dad, have good memories of him, which I think is pretty special. I'm pretty lucky that that's who my dad was.
So I've kind of enjoyed my life along.